Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com. In this video, we're looking at a watch from Ball with the Ball Engineer Master 2 Skindiver 2. So in this video and on this channel, we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com. So in this video, deep dive review of this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end. In addition to that though, if you have any further questions, check out the link in the description to the product page where you can learn more, buy the watch, and book a time with one of our dedicated watch specialists as well. But guys, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch.
So when considering Ball watches, I think many people are able to connect them to their railroad watch roots of the late 19th century and moving into the 20th century. And nowadays they're developing some great everyday tool watches, from their Marvelites to their train masters, their firemen. There's a lot at your disposal when it comes to a consumer. But one part of their catalog that I think is overlooked quite a bit is their dive watches. And the one that we're looking at here today is one of the most slept on dive watches, not only from Ball, but probably in the price range of $2,000 to $3,000. And the watch we're going to be looking at is the Engineer Master 2 Skindiver 2. That one really rolls off the tongue, but this is a watch that I think just needs to be on the radar of more people. It combines elements that many tool watch enthusiasts will love, that might be fans of things like the Zen U1, for example, or maybe something like the Tudor Pelagos. A lot of those elements I think are fused within this watch, while also keeping in mind the Ball watch DNA. So let's take a closer look. Taking a look at the Skindiver 2 on the wrist, we have dimensions of 42.8 across the case by our measurement, and a bezel overhang increasing it to around 44.5 millimeters. You don't feel that in its wear, but it is important to note. The case is 14.5 millimeters thick, and a lug to lug we have a measurement of 53.3 millimeters. Obviously, with these measurements, this is going to be a substantial watch. So in order to really pull this one off, you do need to have I would say, probably larger size wrist. So probably at least 7.25 inches and above, or around 18 centimeters. As with other Ball references, the case is a combination of radial brush finishing to the interior surface of the case and vertical brushing along the side surfaces that are broken up by a broad polished bevel, which traces the case edge from lug to lug. On the left side of the case is the internal helium escape valve, and on the right side is a knurled screw-down crown, which also adorns the double R logo of Ball. The crown is just slightly recessed into the case for extra security to aid in that 500 meters of water resistance. Does not feature any crown guards. Operating the crown is easily done given the knurling on the crown, and is done in standard fashion. Unscrewing it to the first point, you can then hand wind the movement, then extending it to the second position to adjust the date, and finally fully extending the crown to set the time while stopping the second hand in the process, so you do have hacking seconds here. Between the 22 millimeter lug space sits a completely brushed bracelet, which Ball calls a beads of rice style bracelet, which I wouldn't necessarily classify it as. I'd call it more of just kind of a fine link style bracelet, but still has a lot of the same elements going in its favor that would come with a beads of rice style. It tapers down to a 20 millimeter clasp. The bracelet itself is going to drape beautifully to the wrist. This is one of the better executions of a Ball bracelet. Problem with many Ball bracelets that I have handled is just going to be the kind of bulky nature of the links themselves. They don't articulate the same way, so this one really comes together in a nice fashion. Inside the clasp, there are 3 points of micro adjustment provided to go along with the diver's extension. For regular sizing adjustment, the bracelet has plenty of removable links on either side of the bracelet, which are secured with screws. This watch is fitted with a 120 click unidirectional bezel fitted with a luminous ceramic insert. The bezel was designed with both practicality and ease of use in mind. A grippy hobnail texture is applied to the sides of the bezel, which overhangs the case just about 2 millimeters while also sitting slightly above the case. There is a very solid tactile feel in its rotation, and in addition, a quite substantial audible response. There is a little bit of lateral play to the bezel, but overall feels and works very well. And then one final point of wearability. This one I would say wears closer in splitting the difference between what the bezel indicates with its overhang and what the central case might indicate with it being a little bit more compact and centralized. I would say closer to a 43 millimeter. And with that, I think again, this is a larger watch, so just keep that in mind. I know I already mentioned it, but just want to hit it again once we went through all the different aspects of the case. Fitting flush to the bezel is a flat sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, providing a clear view to the dial. The dial is deep black in color, yet it lightens up depending on the angle at which light hits it, with a soft reflective surface. The same can be said for the deep chapter ring along the perimeter of the dial, which is a match in its material and color. Along the chapter ring are small markers for the minute track and large cutouts to make room for the rectangular micro gas tubes used for the hour markers. Ball uses different styles of gas tubes for different models, and here the tubes are a bit flatter than on some other pieces, but do extend up from the dial quite a bit. The tubes are going to glow with a green incandescence except for the 12 o'clock marker, which is orange, to help easily identify in a dark environment when it comes to orientation. Moving inward, we have the ball name accompanied by the official standard text, as well as the year of the company's founding just below that, all done in white lettering. At the 6 o'clock, more white text referencing the movement's chronometer status and 500 meters of water resistance. Situated between the 4 and 5 o'clock hour markers is a faceted date window with contrasting white date wheel beneath. It may have been nice to see a 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock position, or just seeing a black date disc to have some cohesiveness with just the transition from the dial to the date disc, but still, I think this is a very well put together dial. At the center, we have a set of white syringe-style hour and minute hands that are paired with a long orange sweep second hand, which features the double R counterweight. All the hands are fitted with a single micro gas-filled tube to complement the bezel and dial. For the uninitiated, the gas-filled tubes contain a stable form of tritium, which activates luminous material applied to the inside of the tubes. With this technology, the gas tubes do not need to be charged by light, unlike most luminous paint, and they can glow for decades. This process of using microgas tubes is more labor-intensive than just applying luminous paint where it is needed, and it's a technology Ball watches is best known for. In terms of a complete dark environment, if you're talking about pitch black environment, I find tritium as a much more reliable material because it is constantly illuminating, and when it comes to just the visual effect, it creates a great one in those completely dark environments. So turning the watch over to the back, we have a solid screw-down case back with the center displaying a tribute to the United States Coast Guard Reserve. Underneath the case back sits the automatic caliber, the RR1103C, which is based off the ETA 2892. In addition, this is going to be an elevated grade of this movement as well. And in addition to that, it's going to be sent in to become a COSC certified chronometer. So you can expect a high level of finishing and of course a high level of accuracy and precision during both normal and extreme conditions. Given the familiar architecture of these movements as well, these can be serviced by pretty much any watchmaker out there, as well as being fine-tuned regulated yourself if you did want to take it into your own hands. This movement's going to operate at 4 Hz, 28,800 vibrations per hour, does feature hacking and hand winding, hacking again, stopping the second hand when you pull the crown out to the farthest position, and has a power reserve of 38 hours. So now to unpack, looking at this Engineer Master 2 Skindiver 2. Little bit of a long name, but that's besides the point. When we get down to the core of it, I think this is a very solid dive watch. Let's get this out of the way though. This is going to be a large watch, no question about it. If you have a smaller or even a medium-sized wrist, this probably isn't going to be for you unless you like a larger fit on your wrist. But this watch checks off a lot of boxes, and I think for a larger wristed individual makes a ton of sense as a point of consideration in this $2,000 to $3,000 range. Let's consider the top competitors in this price range that I would imagine people are going to associate with this watch. Tool watches, certainly going to be the core of what this is. I would imagine something like the U1 maybe being in alignment for what somebody might look for in comparison to this watch. Then you also have something like the Tudor Pelagos, where you can look at a lot of elements of this design that it's going to be shared in terms of how the large rectangular hour markers are going to be set within the angle up to the chapter ring. That embedded effect is pretty unique to the Pelagos, and with the black surface at the dial, it really just came to mind immediately. But also looking at the other elements, the finishing of the bracelet as well as the case, that nice polished edge on the side of the lugs looks great. Ceramic insert for that bezel, 500 meters of water resistance, more than suitable for pretty much any diving activity out there, and also getting a COSC certified movement on the inside. Simply put, although there being some competition in the range, there's some tough competition when it comes to tool dive watches in this price range, but this is one that I don't see mentioned enough and probably should be mentioned a bit more for somebody that has a larger wrist, but wants something that is very well built and durable from a dive watch perspective.
All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Really would appreciate that, as well as it does help out the channel. Also, if you're in the market for this watch, it is available on Baldassarre.com. We're a full authorized dealer of over 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, also offer a full factory warranty for all the products that we carry, unlike a lot of places online. So if something goes wrong, you don't have to pay the bill for it. We also offer price match. So if you see one of our watches for cheaper at another authorized dealer, just fill out the form. We'll be in contact with you. And again, 9 out of every $10 that we generate goes right back into the content that we're creating here, as well as on our main channel, of course. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.